Enzo Maresca's start to the season with Chelsea has been a mixed bag, with 1 win, 1 draw and 1 loss. However, his tactical vision is already becoming clear. Maresca is focused on building a cohesive unit that emphasizes structured possession and high pressing. Here is how you can recreate Enzo Maresca's tactics in FC24. The new Chelsea manager has favoured two formations, both the 4-2-3-1 as well as the 3-2-4-1. Now you will see the side attack in a 3-2-4-1, building up very effectively with a 3-2 shape, but you'll also see them defend in a natural 4-2-3-1 system, having one of the defensive midfielders slide over to that right-hand side and defend in that wider right space. So the tactical approach implemented by Chelsea's new manager will be all about rotational play and operating in the wider zones. Quite often so far this season, we've seen the two wider midfielders, the likes of Madueke, Mudryk, or even Neto when he has played down that left-hand side, attacking down the bylines, looking to draw the opposition out into those wider zones. But not only that, we've also seen the two number 10s in Enzo Fernandez as well as the likes of Cole Palmer rotating into those wider zones and looking to try and facilitate a lot of the attacking play from those wider areas of the field. This in turn will help generate a lot of central space for the likes of your striker as well as your two deeper lying midfielders. Of course, Maresca is looking to dominate proceedings and the opposition with that box formation, so you are trying to keep the ball and maintain it in those central zones as well as in those wider areas as much as possible. As we take a look at the defensive setup implemented by Enzo Maresca, Chelsea tends to set up in their natural 4-4-2 formation or even a 4-2-3-1 formation, and then once that is implemented, they'll look to press and probe, and you will see the striker as well as the number 10 aggressively pressing the back line. Now, what I would suggest is if you are trying to be a bit more assertive and aggressive when out of possession of the ball, you can set this to press after possession loss. That will be a bit more aggressive with your counter-pressing system, but for the time being, pressure on heavy touch should definitely do the trick. The team's width will be set to 60, creating a nice man-v-man pressing structure when out of possession of the ball, but it will also make sure that you are locking down your zonal areas all over the pitch. Chelsea's depth has definitely increased since the preseason video. As you can see, there is a lot more confidence growing in the side as they do look to press high up the field and look to try and pen the opposition back in their own half. Of course, this does lend itself to the offensive play, where you will see the backline pressing high up the field, limiting the space between the lines, but also being very involved in the attacking build-up. Now, as we've already established on the channel, Enzo Maresca's style of play on the offensive end is all about patient build-up, looking to rotate play, looking to make sure that they are keeping possession of the ball at all times, being very patient with the rotations, being very patient with their passing movements. Now you will see the build-up play will be set to slow build-up, implementing a nice, effective way of building your attacks, establishing that good offensive platform to build up off of, having the goalkeeper play it off into the centre-backs, and then they'll look to progress the ball further forward, whether it's with a longer pass or diagonal switch, or even just playing the ball into the two deeper lying midfielders. The chance creation will be set to possession, as this will mean that the ball carrier will always have a passing option in and around the attacking areas of the field when they are looking to progress the ball into that final third region, and you will see more naturally a great offensive structure formulates in and around the opposition's box. The offensive width for the side has remained the same, with it being set to 75. You will see a lot of the attacks stem from those wider areas of the field, having the likes of Madueke combining with Cole Palmer, or even Enzo Fernandez combining with the likes of Mudryk or potentially Neto, or maybe even a Jadon Sancho down the left-hand side, looking to try and facilitate crossing and cutback opportunities. And of course, with those crossing and cutback opportunities, you do need players in the box, and Enzo Maresca does quite like having a few plays in and around those zones, but he also likes having a few plays on the edge of the box, whether it's rotational play or just looking to try and win the ball back with an aggressive counter press on the edge of the area. Finally, the corners as well as the free kicks should be set to 4. Moving on to the individual player instructions, we'll start off at the front with the striker in Nicholas Jackson, who will be set to maintain a balanced width. You do tend to see Jackson drifting into those wider channels, offering extra passing options in those wider zones, but he can also be a very physical, dominant force in the central regions. Now, the attacking runs will be set to maintaining that false 9 role. You do tend to see the likes of the striker, whether it's Nkunku, Huiyu, or Jackson, or maybe even the likes of Joao Felix, playing in that false 9 role, dropping into the midfield zones, combining very efficiently and effectively with the likes of Cole Palmer and Enzo Fernandez in those central areas. The interceptions should be set to aggressive, as the striker is often the trigger for this counter-pressing system to be initiated, and he will often look to close down passing angles and lanes for the centre-backs into the midfield zones. And then finally, the defensive support should be set to stay forward. I have noticed that the likes of Nicholas Jackson does like to hang further up the field and be an outlet ball, but not only that, he can offer a very good holder play ability, looking to hold the ball up when it is launched forward to him and then lay it off into one of the surrounding midfielders. Now, this system is centered around a player like Cole Palmer. You will see him being able to be very effective in that wider right zone, combining quite often with Madueke, or potentially being able to collect the ball in that wider right zone, drive forward with it, and either create a goal scoring opportunity for himself or one of his teammates. Now, you will see here for the defensive support, he will be set to maintaining a basic role, as this will allow him to sometimes drop deep and be very involved in that first phase build of play or just in that midfield zone quite often, or he can choose to stay high up the field and be a transition attacker. We saw with the second goal versus Wolves, him and Nicholas Jackson were hanging up the field and that led to their quick second goal. The support runs for your right attacking midfielder will be set to maintaining a balanced role. Quite often you will see Palmer on the edge of the area whipping in a cross or trying to facilitate an attacking move, but even then you will see him in the box at times looking to get on the end of a potential cross or a cutback opportunity himself. The positioning freedom for the player should be set to maintaining a stick to position role, as this will have him operate solely in that right hand space area, looking to attack and facilitate in that right zone. And then finally, the interception should be set to aggressive, and this will also help formulate successfully that 4-4-2 system or even a 4-2-3-1 pressing system. Onto the opposite number 10, and the likes of Enzo Fernandez will play as a hybrid 8/10, allowing him to drop very deep at times, be very involved in that first phase build of play, or even in those midfield zones looking to help build the attacks, and it will also get him involved in those attacking plays higher up the field in those more attacking offensive zones. So in order to recreate his role very effectively, you want him to maintain a balanced attacking support, allowing him to drift all over the place, mainly down that left-hand side. The support runs will be set to stay on the edge of the box, as Enzo Fernandez does his best work on the edge of the area looking to try and facilitate the pace of play. The interception should be set to normal, and then finally cover the wing and free roam. He will be allowed to successfully drift all over the place, quite often combining with the left midfielder down that left-hand side, but also allowing him to drift into the midfield zones. The midfield double pivot of Caicedo as well as Gusto will be set to maintaining a cut pass hands approach, as you do want them trying to break up and disturb the offensive rhythm that the opposition are trying to generate in those central midfield areas. And then, of course, the attacking support for both will also be set to maintaining that balanced role, creating that nice box-to-box presence for the likes of Gusto as well as Caicedo, as we have seen them work very well in tandem. The one will get forward and the other one will stay back, and vice versa situations will occur. As you'll see here for Gusto, he's got the same role and instructions, balanced attack as well as cut passing lanes. Now, the difference that we do see is for Gusto, of course, more naturally a right back, you do tend to see him tucking into that right-hand side quite a bit. And that is why for the positioning freedom, I have set him to stick to position. He will maintain on the offensive end at least the ability to roam up and down that right-hand side. But on the defensive end, he will be looking to cover the wing and drift into that wider right space, assisting the likes of Noni Madueke with the defensive approach down that right-hand side. Whereas the likes of Caicedo will be set to maintaining that deep-lying playmaker role as well as cover the center. Quite often you will see, due to the fact that Cucurella is positioned as a left-back, and we will talk about that soon enough, that he will drift out wide to the touchline, allowing for the likes of Colwell to be joined by the likes of Caicedo with that build-up play, creating a solid back four when building the attacks. And the likes of Caicedo will drop into that space and be very effective and efficient with being able to receive a pass from the goalkeeper and then progress it further forward. Now onto the flanks, and both Neto as well as Noni Madueke will have the same role and instructions, and I would assume the same could be said for Mudryk as well as Jadon Sancho. Now you will see here for the defensive support, I have set this to basic, as both of these players do tend to track back quite efficiently and effectively and help support in those wider zones, but at the same time, mainly the likes of Madueke, they can tend to stay further up the field and be quick transition attacking players. So that is why a basic defensive support will allow them to balance out their attacking opportunities with their defensive duties. The chance creation for your two wider players will be set to stay wide, as you do want them hugging the touchlines and operating solely down those wider areas of the pitch. And along with that, the support runs should be set to get behind, as you do want the likes of Madueke as well as Neto running in behind, penetrating the opposition's back and looking to stretch the play quite a lot, generate a lot of that central space for the midfield four, and you will see them making those extensive runs in behind quite a lot. Finally, the interception should be set to normal, and then for the support on crosses, it will be left on balance, as you do want them on the odd occasion angling their runs into the central areas, positioning themselves in the correct areas to try and get on the end of those goal-scoring opportunities. But at the same time, you want them maybe facilitating a lot of the offense from those wider regions of the field, facilitating crossing and cutback opportunities. Onto the opposite flank, and Noni Madueke will facilitate the same instructions. You will see him being set to maintaining a basic defensive support, but if you set him to stay forward, this will allow him to be an effective transition attacker, and it will also consistently allow the likes of Gusto to mark in those wider right zones. But for the time being, I've left it on a basic defensive support. The ability for him to stay wide will be essential, as you do want him hugging the touchline and operating up and down that right-hand space. Of course, getting in behind will be essential, as we did see versus Wolves, the combination play in that wider right zone, and the ability for Noni Madueke to run in behind quite a bit was very effective, and it can be an attacking element that you can successfully use in the FC24. And then finally, the interception should be set to normal with the balanced crossing runs. Now for the hybrid centre-back / left-back and Marc Cucurella, he'll be set to maintaining a balanced attacking support. So you will see him naturally progress higher up the field, looking to attack if the opportunities do present themselves. And also more naturally, when you are looking to attack and you are in and around the attacking zones, he will have a natural higher attacking position for the build-up play. The interception should be set to normal and the run type will be set to mixed, although you will see him more naturally drifting out to the wide left-hand channel, looking to operate in that wider zone. The defensive positioning should be set to stick to position, as he doesn't always like to be too aggressive, and you do want him maintaining his natural position, not really being exposed or exploited down the left-hand side. This will allow him to effectively be able to defend the wider spaces. Your two natural centre-backs in Levi Colwill as well as Wesley Fofana will have two very different sets of instructions. As you'll see here, for Fofana, he will be set to overlap, as you do want him venturing further forward if the opportunities do present themselves higher up the pitch down that right-hand side. Very similar to what Cucurella does do, but you will see a bit more of a defensive approach taken when he does get forward. Whereas the likes of Levi Colwill, who will be maintaining that middle centre-back role, he will look to try and lead this defensive line at times, so you do want him to be a bit more calmer. He will often look to try and intercept the play, break it up as most effectively as possible, and then rotate it into the correct players when they are looking to build their attacks. These three players in the backline areas will be very important in that first phase, looking to collect the ball from the goalkeeper and really establish a successful first phase build-up play. And then finally, for the goalkeeper, he should be set to maintaining that sweeper keeper role. You are playing a high line, so it is going to be a necessity and a requirement that Sanchez does sweep up in behind your backline. And of course, it is a necessity that Maresca does have a ball-playing goalkeeper to really establish that offensive play. And there you go, my dudes. That is how I would successfully go ahead and recreate Chelsea's tactics under Enzo Maresca. Of course, there are a few tweaks and variations from the preseason tactics, and if you're interested in that, I will link it for you at the end of this video for you guys to go ahead and maybe take a look at, or a peek or something like that. And if you don't mind, please smash that like button down below, as well as subscribe if you are new. FC25 is out fairly soon, and we are going to be doing a lot of tactics for that. So don't miss out. Subscribe, please, like the videos, hit the bell notification, all that good stuff, and you will be able to get the best tactics on YouTube. Anyways, until the next time, until the next one, I hope you have a smashing goddamn day, and I'm out of here. Peace.